Okay, so I just wanted to put the notes from today up on the website because I want you guys to understand what you need to understand for the test tomorrow. Okay, so you have to be able to calculate density. You need to be able to compare the densities of different substances and understand which substance would be sinking to the bottom and which substance would be floating to the top. You also need to be able to understand mixtures, whether it be heterogeneous or homogeneous, and you also need to be able to identify a mixture as being a solution, which is a homogeneous mixture. So you got to know that. You also need to be able to understand different examples of mixtures. The next thing that you need to be able to do is distinguish between substances that look alike based on their physical properties. What you need to understand is that the physical properties that allow you to distinguish between similar items are these. One of the best things to do is remember the things that will not allow you to distinguish between two substances. And the things that are missing here are mass and volume. So mass and volume are the only two things that will not allow you to distinguish between two substances. Boiling point will, melting point will, density, conductivity, magnetism, solubility, and state will all allow you to identify a substance, because substances have unique boiling points, melting points, density. They will maintain their conductivity, their magnetism, their solubility, and their state. Okay, the next things that you need to understand are melting point and boiling point. Don't forget the drawing that I showed you today. Use water as a reference and use your mental model for water. If water is liquid at room temperature and the other substance that you need to compare it to is a gas at room temperature, that means that substance has a lower boiling point. If the other substance is a solid at...
Jacob Dyer, come to the main office. Jacob Dyer, please come to the office.
Sorry about that. If substance is a solid at room temperature, that means that its melting point is higher than that of water. Okay, you also need to know evidence for a chemical change. Those are the three things that we did in class when we mixed the copper sulfate with the ammonia and hydrogen peroxide. We saw gas formation, precipitate formation, and color change. Now you might not see all three of them, but usually if you see gas forming, you know a chemical change has taken place. If a precipitate is forming, a chemical change has taken place, and a color change will usually indicate a chemical change, unless you're mixing paint, in which case that's just a physical change. Okay, you need to know that a substance can either be an element or a compound, and substances have the same components no matter what. An element has one type of atom, and a compound has more than one type of atom. It can have 2 or 3 or 4. You also need to know the subatomic particles. You need to be able to tell me why an atom gets a charge, and don't forget an atom gets a charge when it either gains or loses electrons. If it gains electrons, the atomic charge becomes negative, and if it loses electrons, the atomic charge becomes positive. You also need to know the 4 types of chemical changes, so you can be able to identify if something is a chemical change. And then the last thing that you need to know is physical change. So if you break something or bend something, it's still that same matter. It doesn't change the matter.